This video is sponsored by Wanderlust.
In today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that I've never really shared publicly, but it's a decision that we made about 2 years ago that has completely changed our lives, allowed us to completely change our business, and make more money than we've ever made before. And that is outsourcing our editing. Hey there, my name is Tyler Harrington. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you don't know anything about me, just a little quick backstory. My wife and I started photographing weddings together when we got married back in 2013. And I think in our busiest season of just video weddings, we shot between 25 and 30 weddings in 1 year. Now that sounds really great. And obviously we're really thankful for the success that we've seen in our business over the years. But on the back end, what you didn't see was that it was really just killing us. Like, it was really this awful burden that was weighing down on us, and that was all of the post-processing. Because when you shoot that many weddings, you are going, I think at one point we had 12 weeks in a row where we had a wedding or an event or something to do with almost maybe 1 weekend off in 12 weeks. Now, that is a lot. It takes a huge toll physically on your body to be doing this on a Saturday. It takes a couple of days to recover. And then you're spending the entire week trying to get everything out on social media from that past week's wedding. And then next thing you know, it's Tuesday or Wednesday maybe, and you've got to start editing the wedding from the week before. But now you're 3 weddings in the hole. Next thing you know, you're 4 weddings and 5 weddings and 6 weddings, and it became just this really huge mess behind the scenes. And again, on the front end, it looked really successful. It looked like we were killing it. We were traveling all over the country, shooting these weddings, doing all of these things, having a great time. And we loved all of our couples, and it was really great. But on the back end, it was killing us. And it didn't even really catch up to us until after wedding season. And the most stressful time always ended up being around the holidays. Everybody wants their wedding film so they can watch it with friends and family for Christmas and Thanksgiving and all these different things. But we shot weddings all the way up until the very end of October to the beginning of November. And we're still had this huge backlog. Again, it just kind of piles on top of each other, on top of each other, on top of each other, plus all the normal ins and outs of running a business. So the next thing you know, we have 6 months turnaround time, 7 months turnaround times. And these people who got married in the summer, beginning of the summer, were just struggling to get their films out by Christmas. And it becomes this really big problem, honestly, in our life that seemed inescapable. It seemed like there was nothing that we could do to get out of it. And this cycle kind of continued for a number of years in a row, quite honestly, because by the time we finished all of our editing and we got caught up and finished, the last wedding of the year, it was now March, sometimes almost April, and it was ready to go back into wedding season again. And it became this perpetual cycle that was just ongoing. And this also meant that we couldn't grow our business in any other ways, because all of my time and all of my energy and all of my mental capacity was being taken up just with these, keeping up with editing. We weren't able to grow our business. We weren't able to launch the courses we wanted to launch. We weren't able to do a lot of the things that we had envisioned because a lot of my time was being sucked up purely by editing. So what I want to talk about today are 5 myths that I believed about outsourcing or editing that allowed me to stay in that cycle for years and years and years and years, that just aren't true, that I think a lot of other wedding filmmakers out there might have. Now, before we get too far into this video, I do want to say that this video is sponsored by Wanderlust. They are a sponsor of the channel, as you've probably seen in some of the previous week's videos. But we've been working with Wanderlust for years, and it is really, working with them has given us our life back. Even though they are paying for this video and they are a sponsor of the channel, all my thoughts and my opinions and everything I have to say about them are genuine and are my own. I just wanted to make sure that that's really transparent and clear from the very beginning, that yes, they are sponsoring this video. We're going to talk about them, but everything I'm going to say in this video is my own opinion and is stuff that I really do truly believe. All right, so myth number 1, nobody can edit as well as I can, or nobody can replicate my editing style. Now, I just straight up don't think this is just not true. I think that with some intentionality, and if we're all being really honest with ourselves, there are maybe a few things that we do that we think are unique to us, that allow us to stand out. But if we really broke it down, we could probably teach somebody else how to do it. So when you go to outsource your editing, you want to make sure that you're choosing somebody who has a good system in place that will allow you to share any specific things that you may want to include. Maybe you have a specific thing that's really unique to you, that defines kind of your films and your style or whatever. You should be able to communicate this to somebody else, and they should be able to replicate it to a certain extent. Now, is it going to be exactly the same way that you would do it? Probably not. But I've found sometimes that honestly, by outsourcing my editing, they actually edit better than I might because they're not as emotionally connected to the footage. Maybe on a wedding day, you had a shot that you really, really loved, or you knew you had to like work really hard to get it, and you really just wanted to go in the edit. So you're forcing it in there. The editors, whoever you're outsourcing to, they don't have that same emotional connection to some of your shots and to some of your footage. They're much more removed. So they're able to see more clearly like, no, this is a better shot, or this shot just doesn't make sense in the edit, or whatever. So I would say that is just not true. But however, if you are one of those people out there that literally people book you for your editing, you have such a unique editing style, you think that the editing really is your X factor that makes you special, then yes, it may not be possible to find somebody who you can outsource your editing to. However, I bet you that in your wedding packages, you also include full ceremony cuts, full dances, full whatever, a documentary cut, whatever, all these other types of editing things that you still need to go through and do. Those are the types of things that you may want to consider outsourcing if you have a really specific, unique editing style for your feature film. Or maybe you just don't want to outsource the feature film, but you want to outsource all these other things. That's the beauty of a company like Wanderlust, is they can do all of those different things. So no matter who you are and what your style is, I still do think that outsourcing your editing can be really valuable. Okay, so myth number 2 is that outsourcing is going to be way too expensive. This was another big thing that held me up from a long, long time of outsourcing editing, because every time I would look into outsourcing editing over these many years of late nights and just like bang my head against the wall, I would either find companies that were really, really expensive that was gonna just not make any sense, was gonna eat so much into our profit margin that we weren't gonna have enough money to live and pay our bills, or they were maybe really cheap or more affordable, something I could afford, but the quality was really bad. And it was really hard to find something that's in the middle. And that's why I personally like Wanderlust, is because I think that they have really, I don't know if I want to say affordable pricing, but they have realistic pricing that I think that you can make work for kind of no matter who you are or where you're at in your business. I think that there's a way that you can financially justify the prices that they're charging, but they also have really high quality and you're not sacrificing on that with them. So do some research. There are companies out there. Again, check out Wanderlust. If you use the link in the description, you get a discount code. So like check out Wanderlust, but it doesn't have to be super, super expensive. Like I mentioned in the last point, you can maybe be outsourcing just a few of the different things. Maybe you don't have enough money to outsource, the full feature film, but you can outsource some of these other smaller films that aren't as expensive to outsource, but are just going to be eating into a lot of your time. Also, outsourcing just for the sake of outsourcing, just because you don't want to have to do it, isn't really necessarily a super solid financial decision, right? However, if you're able to use the time that you're saving, not editing, because somebody else is editing for you, to grow your business in other ways, to do other things, to make more money, to bring in new revenue streams, to launch a course, to do any of these different things, to maybe create some passive income, whatever it may be, now we're talking, because you're using that time wisely in ways that you would otherwise be stuck editing. Now you have time to create revenue streams in other ways. All right, so the third myth that people have about outsourcing editing is that my clients will be mad if they find out. Now, I will say, we have not really publicly talked about outsourcing or editing since we started doing it last year. So in 2019 and 2020, we outsourced every single one of our wedding film edits to Wanderlust, and we never told our brides and grooms about it, and they don't seem to really have cared, right? I mean, I think we deep down want people to care that we're the ones like touching the footage and like handcrafting their film or whatever. But at the end of the day, they just want to have a really good experience. So we also take that questionnaire we get from our clients that has specifics about what needs to be in the film and their preferences and all these different things. And we just send that to Wanderlust. So they're still getting all that same information. We're doing our due diligence to make sure that the film that our clients receive is something that we would be proud of and reflects the expectation they have from us, and that we're not going to provide them with a product that's less quality than what we ourselves would create. So as long as you're doing all those things, I don't think anybody would have any reason to be upset about it. Again, you're coming, you're shooting the footage, you're giving them that personal interaction one-on-one. Once you get the footage home, I don't really think the clients are going to care. I think that's something we manufacture in our head. So don't worry about too much. You don't have to tell your clients, but even if you do, I don't think that they're going to care as much as you think they might. Okay, so the fourth myth is that the whole process is going to be too complicated to figure out, and by the time I get it all sorted out, I might as well have just done it myself. Again, this is not true. If you're working with a good outsourcing company, either an outsourcing company or even if you have a private editor or somebody who you're working with, yes, initially up front, there is going to be some work that goes into it to share with them what you like in terms of your style, maybe your color grading, the different audio clips to look out for. What is the story that we're trying to tell throughout the day? There is going to be a little bit of extra work at the beginning to figure out a way of communicating this to your editor. But I think that once you figure it out, once you have a system in place for communicating all this vital information from you that you're collecting from your clients to your editor, I think once you have some systems in place for that, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Wanderlust is really great about this. They have an entire questionnaire form that you fill out that's specific just for Wanderlust. And like I said, we also send all of our questionnaires over to them to make sure that they read them, get them to the editors, and they always seem to find the story and are really diligent about pulling out the best bits of the audio and really paying attention to the questionnaire to make sure that what the client wants reflected in their film, or what we tell Wanderlust, like, hey, this thing happened, this was really important, it needs to make it into the film. They always do a really good job of making sure that that happens. So yes, there is a little bit of extra work up front, but once you get into a rhythm and you have some sort of a process, that shouldn't be something you need to worry about. All right, and then the fifth and final myth is that I don't really need help, or if I just manage my time better, then I could get it all figured out. And again, this is something else that I believed for years and years and years, and it's just really not true. I mean, there are only so many hours in the day. There's only so much time that you can be spending in your life and in your business and in your family and with your friends. And eventually you get to a point where there's just not enough. There's just not enough hours in the day. So no matter how well you manage your time, it's just not going to pan out. You're going to need some help in one way or another. The value that I've seen and the change I've seen in my life from outsourcing editing goes so far beyond just, work-life balance. It really seeps, for me personally, it was seeping into every area of my life. And it got to the point where I was dreading going to weddings themselves, like going to film these weddings, because I knew it was just adding to my backlog. It was just one more film I was going to have to do, one more client I was going to have to disappoint because their film was going to take a long time to edit. And I knew that it was already I was just digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper every time I went to a wedding. And that just sucks your joy. It sucks your, everything that you love about your job. It just makes everything really difficult. And, maybe this isn't you, maybe you're not at this point, but I just got to a point where I was hating the editing because, again, I just felt guilty the whole time. I was hating the shooting. It just became this huge mess. And I think just finally admitting to this myself, hey, I need some help. I need to try and get ahead of this thing, and I need to figure out how I can make this happen in my life, because running a business and shooting 30 weddings a year isn't worth it if you're not going to be able to enjoy your life in any way, shape, or form. Yes, it's great to say oh, we shot so many weddings and look how successful we are or whatever. But if you can't enjoy any area of your life, if you're editing at midnight on Christmas Eve, like I have many years in the past, it's not worth it. It's not worth any of it. So whatever extra money you would have from not outsourcing or whatever, I think is so worth just the joy and the fulfillment again, and just being able to live your life guilt-free, stress-free. And that's what we've been able to experience in the last 2 years. I can't even begin to describe to you how much better our life is now that we have these weddings all outsourced. I come home from a wedding day, I dump all the footage, sending the footage off, and then that was it. I could spend the rest of the week working on growing my business, working on finding new clients, working on literally whatever I want, having the freedom and the flexibility to actually, be able to stop working at 5 o'clock and not have all these crazy deadlines, and knowing that I can make my clients super happy because I'm turning their films around in a month or 2 months or whatever, as opposed to 6, 7, 8 months. It's just so much better. I love going to weddings again. We love everything about what we're doing, and it's all because we finally decided to outsource our weddings. So if you're out there and maybe you're resonating with some of this, definitely consider outsourcing. Again, I think that you should check out Wanderlust. I think they are a really awesome option. We've been super happy with everything that we've had working with them. They've been a really great partner. Before they started sponsoring a YouTube channel, they edited probably 20 films for us or whatever, so we have a long history with Wanderlust that goes well back beyond them sponsoring this YouTube channel. But it is seriously, if any of this resonates with you, please at least give it a shot. Try it for one wedding. and see what happens, because I promise you it'll make a huge difference in every aspect of your life. And like I said, this video is sponsored by Wanderlust, so please keep that in mind. However, everything that I said about outsourcing editing, I do think is really, really true. So whether it be Wanderlust or somebody else, if you are struggling in your life, if you are drowning in your editing, please consider reaching out to somebody like Wanderlust. It will really, really make a huge difference in your life, in your business, in your happiness, in all sorts of things. And it has been one of the best decisions that we've ever made. And I don't want that. I don't want you guys to have to suffer as long as I did. So definitely check them out. Definitely use the link in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Tyler from the Harringtons, and I'll see you next time.